Now, I've made my share of expensive mistakes on this place. I've bought equipment I didn't need. I've put tomatoes in the ground 2 weeks early, 3 years running, 'cause I'm hard-headed and I don't learn. But there ain't one single thing I've ever done out here that cost me more money in one shot and more sleep in one night than the fence I built my second spring on this land. And here's the thing that ought to stop you in your tracks. That was 800 foot of brand new woven wire. Good wire, good post, no corners cut on material. 6 days of my own labor in the sun. And I stood back at the end of it and I was proud, folks. I want you to understand that part. I took a picture of it and sent it to my brother. 31 days later, I was standing out on the county road at 2 in the morning in my boxer shorts and a headlamp, shaking a feed bucket at a heifer, while my neighbor's truck sat sideways in the bar ditch with the flashers going. The whole thing come to right around $1,200 before the dust settled. And the part that still stings, the part I think about when I'm out there stringing wire even now, is that the mistake behind all of it was something I could have fixed in one afternoon for about $40 in material. $40. So today I'm going to tell you the whole story straight. No prettying it up. Then we're going to count down the 7 fence mistakes I see folks make out here. 7 down to 1. And number 1 on that list is the exact one that got me. If you're fixing to build fence this year, or you got fence up right now that don't look quite right to you when you drive past it, stick with me clear to the end. 'Cause number 1 is the whole difference between a fence that stands 30 years and a fence that lays down in a month. How it happened. Let me set the scene. I had a piece of pasture I wanted closed in so I could run a few head. I'd priced out having it done by a fella who does it for a living, and he give me a number I didn't much care for, and I thought to myself, well now, how hard can it be? It's posts and it's wire. My granddaddy built fence with a mule and a shovel. I've got a tractor and 2 hands. So I went and bought good material, and I want that on the record because this ain't a story about being cheap. 47-inch woven wire, 3 rolls of it, T-posts by the bundle. And for my 4 corners, I bought big treated posts, 8-inch across, heavy enough you didn't want to carry one very far. Dug them holes and set them posts, and they was solid. Then I hung my wire, and I stretched it. And boys, I stretched it. Come along on one end, stretcher bar clamped across, and I pulled that woven wire till them little crimps in the stay wires went near flat, and the whole fence sang like a guitar string when you thumped it with your thumb. I thought that was the mark of a man who knew what he was doing. Stood back and looked down that line, and it was straight as a rifle barrel. And I felt about 9 feet tall. Here's what I did not do. I did not brace them corner posts, not one of the 4. I set 4 big posts in the ground and hung 800 foot of drum-tight wire off of them and called it a fence. For about a week, nothing at all happened. Then we got a rain. Good soaking 3-day rain, the kind you pray for in April. And that water went down in the ground around them corners and softened everything up. And that wire, which had been pulling on them posts every second of every day since the minute I set the come-along down, finally got exactly what it had been asking for. I come out one morning, and the northwest corner was leaning, just a little, just enough that you'd stand there and go, huh. And I'll be honest with you, 'cause that's the only way this story's worth anything. I looked at that post, and I told myself it had settled a bit in the rain, and I went off and done something else. That was mistake number 2, and it's the one I'd take back first if I could only have one. A leaning corner post don't get better. It only gets worse, and it gets worse faster every day. Every degree it tips, the wire goes a little slacker, and slack wire means that post has less holding it upright, so it tips a little easier the next time. 2 weeks after that, all 4 of my corners was pulled in toward the middle of the pasture, like a man being drug off his feet. An 800-foot of wire that used to sing was hanging there with a belly in it a foot deep. And a woven wire fence with a belly in it ain't a fence. It's a suggestion. And cattle, folks, cattle are professional evaluators of suggestions. She found the low spot on a Tuesday night, went right over the top of it, laid it flat in the grass, and walked out onto a county road at 1:30 in the morning. My neighbor come around that bend hauling home late, saw something big and black standing where nothing big and black ought to be, and put his truck in the ditch trying not to hit her. Now the Lord looked after us that night, and I know it. Nobody got hurt. The heifer never got touched. My neighbor got pulled out with a chain, and he was a whole lot more decent about it than I'd have been in his boots. But I sat up the rest of that night on the porch, thinking about what it would have been if it had been a family in a car doing 60 instead of a stock truck doing 35. And I ain't looked at a fence the same way since. The $1,200. Let's add it up honest, 'cause I promised you a number and I aim to keep my word. First, the posts. Had to pull and redo all 4 corners plus both gate posts. 6 new posts, 'cause 2 of the old ones split when I worked them out of the ground, plus the brace material I should have bought the first time. $280. The wire was the real hurt. Woven wire that's been overstretched, then gone slack, then had a cow walk over the top of it. Don't ever go back. Them crimps are pulled dead out of it. It's kinked in a dozen places, and there's 3 stretches where it's just plain tired. I salvaged about 1/3 of 1 roll for a garden pen. 2 rolls was ruined outright. $600 laying in a pile in the barn. Then there's the fella I finally called, the same one whose number I didn't care for the first time. $200 for a half day's work, and I'll tell you, it's the best $200 I spent that whole year, 'cause I stood right there and watched every single move he made. And that's how I know what I'm fixing to tell you in the countdown. And then there's the 100 and change of stuff you never think about. Diesel and chain for the pullout. A tank of gas and a case of beer for the neighbor, which he never asked for and which weren't near enough. Knew come along 'cause I'd cooked the old one. $1,200 plus 6 more days of my life in the sun doing work I had already done one time. Now here's what the other version looked like, the one where I do it right. 2 extra posts, 2 horizontal rails, 1 little coil of smooth brace wire. That's $40 in about 3 hours of a Saturday morning, and not one other thing in this whole story ever happens. So let's make good and sure you don't pay my tuition. Here's the 7, counting down. Number 7, building before you walk it. Folks get their material home and they want to start digging that same afternoon. Don't. Walk your whole line first, and walk it twice. Once with a notepad, once with your hands empty and your eyes open. You're looking for 3 things. You're looking for the low spots where water runs, and we'll get to them here in a bit. You're looking for what you got to clear out of the way, 'cause trying to fight brush and handle wire at the same time is how good men learn new words. And most of all, you're looking for your actual property pin. I'll say that part plain. Find your corner pins before you set 1 single post. I know a fella not 30 miles from here who built a beautiful half-mile of new fence 4 foot inside his neighbor's line, 'cause he went off an old fence row that had been wrong since Eisenhower. Cost him the fence twice, and cost him a neighbor forever. And out here you can replace a fence a whole lot easier than you can replace a neighbor. Number 6, setting posts too shallow. Here's the rule, and it don't bend. 1/3 of the post goes in the ground. 8-foot post, near 3 foot in the dirt. And a corner post ain't a line post. A corner goes 3.5, 4 foot down, and it wants to be 8-inch across at the small end. Not 6. Well, this one was on sale. The reason is leverage, and it's just arithmetic. Every inch of post sticking up above the ground is a lever arm working against you. Every inch below the ground is grip working for you. When you set a post shallow, you have not built a post. You have built a handle for the fence to pull on. And don't go digging a great big wide hole neither. Dig it just barely bigger than the post itself, 'cause every shovel of dirt you take out is dirt that's got to go back in loose, and loose dirt don't hold anything. Number 5, trust in concrete to do the braces job. This one's going to make somebody mad down in the comments, and that's all right. I can take it. Folks figure concrete is the cure for a post that won't stay put. So they dig a hole, drop the post in, pour a sack of dry mix around it, splash a little water on top, and go to bed feeling good about it. What they have actually built is a popsicle. A big, heavy popsicle sitting in a hole in the ground, and the whole works can tip over together as one piece, just as pretty as you please. And if water ever gets down in between that wood and that concrete, and it will, that post will rot clean off right at the collar in about 6 years, and you will never see it coming till it's laid over. Here's what actually holds a post in the ground. Dirt, put back a little at a time and tamped like you mean it. 4 inches of dirt, tamp it. 4 more, tamp it. All the way up. Use a real tamping bar, not the handle end of your shovel, and put your weight into it. A well-tamped post in native soil will outlast a concreted one, and it costs you nothing but sweat. Now, if you're working sugar sand or gumbo that just won't hold, then yes, use some concrete. But crown it up above grade and slope it so water runs off instead of standing against the wood. And understand that even then, that concrete is helping the post. It ain't replacing the brace. Number 4, stretching it till it sings. I already confessed to this one, so let me explain it. Tight ain't the goal. Right is the goal. Woven wire's got them little crimps built into the vertical stay wires, and them crimps are the whole design of the thing. That's the spring in your fence. That's what lets a cow lean on it and lets it come right back at her. When you pull them crimps out flat, you have took the spring out of that fence permanently, and now every bit of the load goes straight into your corner posts, and it sits there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Pull it till them crimps are about halfway closed up. That's it. That's tight. Same story with barbed wire, and with barb, it's worse on account of the weather. You stretch barbed wire drum tight on a 102-degree July afternoon, that wire is as long as it is ever going to be in its life. Come a 20-degree morning in January, that steel shrinks up, and it's got to find that length somewhere. Either it rips a line of staples out, or it snaps, and it'll be at a splice, and it'll be at 3 in the morning. And when you're stapling to a wood-lined post, don't drive that staple down hard against the wire. Leave it just loose enough the wire can slide a hair when it works, and drive it in at a bit of an angle so them two legs cross different grain instead of splitting right along one line. Only place you ever staple down hard is your ends and your corners. Number 3, fencing straight through a wet weather creek. Every place has got one. That little gully that's bone dry 11 months out of the year and looks like absolutely nothing. Run your good fence straight down through it, and the first real gully washer fills it up with brush and limbs and dead grass and turns 80 foot of your brand new fence into a dam. And a dam holds just fine right up until it don't. and when it goes, it takes your posts with it downstream. What you want in there is what folks call a water gap, and it's just a section built on purpose to fail, cheap. Set your good braced posts up on high ground on both sides of that draw, and end your real fence right there. Then hang something light across the gap, a piece of cattle panel on a chain, or a few wires weighted at the bottom so they swing free, rigged so a hard flood can lift it or tear it loose without disturbing a single post. Then you go down after the water drops, pull the trash out, hang it back up, and you're done in 20 minutes and a cup of coffee. Build it so it's supposed to let go, and it'll never cost you a dime. Number 2, the gate you'll cuss for 20 years. 2 errors here, and folks generally make both of them at once. First is size. Whatever gate you think you need, go wider. 12 foot is the narrowest I'd put in anywhere a vehicle's going through, and 16 is what you actually want. 'Cause someday there is going to be a hay trailer or a vet's rig or a fire truck meeting through that hole, and I promise you this, you will never once in your entire life stand at a gate and think, boy, I sure wish this thing was narrower. Second is the post, and this is one that gets people. A gate post is doing 2 different jobs at the same time, and they pull opposite directions. It's holding back the fence line on one side, and it's holding 150 pounds of steel gate hanging straight out sideways on the other. And every single time somebody swings that gate open, that's a little hammer blow on it. So a gate post has got to be the biggest post on the whole place, and it has got to be braced. A sagging gate you have to lift with your knee every time ain't a small annoyance. It's the front end of a post that's rolling over. And number 1, no brace on your corners. Here it is, the $1,200 one. You got to understand what a corner post is actually doing out there. It ain't holding up the fence. It's fighting the fence. Every foot of wire you stretched is pulling on that post every minute of every day forever, through rain and freeze and drought, and that wire never gets tired, and it never takes a Sunday off. A post standing by itself in a hole cannot win that fight. All it can do is lose slow. A brace is what turns one post into a system. The one everybody uses is the H brace, and it's called that because it looks exactly like the letter H. You got your corner post. Then 8 foot down the fence line, you set a second post, your brace post, same depth as the first. Between the 2 of them, up high, you run a horizontal rail from post to post, pinned in so it cannot slip out. Then, and here's the part folks get backwards, you run a smooth wire diagonal from the bottom of the corner post up to the top of the brace post. Wrap it around twice, and twist it snug with a stick left in the twist. Bottom of the corner, top of the brace. Say it out loud when you're standing there, because if you run that diagonal the other direction, you have built something that looks exactly right from the road and does exactly nothing. Might even help it fall over faster. Done right, when that fence pulls on your corner and tries to tip the top of it in toward the pasture, that diagonal wire comes tight and hands the whole load down and back into the bottom of the second post and the 8 foot of packed earth between them. The fence has got no chance. That's why you'll drive past an old fence line with a corner that's stood since before you was born, and it don't lean a hair. And twist that brace wire snug, not to death. You're taking the slack out of it. You ain't trying to pull them 2 posts together. If you twist till that horizontal rail starts to bow, you've gone too far. Back it off a turn. Now here's the order of operations that fella taught me while I stood there feeling about 2 inches tall. You build every corner, every end, and every gate post complete and braced first. Every last one. Then you go back and set all your line posts. Then, and only then, do you so much as touch a roll of wire. Wire is the last thing that happens on a fence. Do it in that order, and you almost can't build a bad one. A few last habits. Walk your fence after every hard rain and every hard wind, not once a year. A tipped post caught in week 1 is a truck jack in 20 minutes of your time. That same post caught in month 3 is a weekend and a checkbook. Keep a fence bucket in the truck bed permanent. Fence pliers, a coil of smooth wire, a handful of staples, a few clips, a pair of gloves. Half the fence trouble in this country would fix itself if the tools was already in the truck when a man first noticed the problem. Build your corners bigger than you think you need to. There has never once been a man standing in a pasture in the history of this country who said, "Dang, that corner post is too stout." And when a post starts leaning, go fix it that day. Not Saturday, that day. That's the one I'd take back. Close. So there it is. $1,200, 6 wasted days, 1 heifer out on a county road, and a good neighbor in the ditch, all because I set 4 good posts in the ground and never braced a single one of them. $40 of material was the whole difference. $40 in 3 hours of a Saturday. If you're starting fresh out there, don't let none of this scare you off. Fence building is honest work, and you can absolutely do it your own self. Just do it in the right order. Corners first, braced right, bottom of the corner to the top of the brace. Line post second, a third of them in the ground and tamped hard. Wire last, and only tight enough to close them crimps up halfway. You do that, and your fence will outlive your tractor. If this saved you some money or kept your stock off the road, do me a big favor and smack that like button. It truly helps this little channel grow. And if you ain't subscribed yet, come on and join us. I put out honest, down-to-earth homestead and farming advice every single week, straight from the place. And I want to know down in the comments, what's the one mistake out on your place that cost you the most to learn? Don't be shy about it. We have all got one. I just told you mine. I read every single one. Now get on out there and go take a good long look at your corner post. Take care, y'all.